And welcome. We
Hello.
are here. We've got myself, Buckblind, on the left side of your screen, and we've got Bioshock here on the right side of your screen. And this is the very first episode of Control Alt Deplete.
Woohoo!
That is the name we came up with for our Mythic Plus team from back in BFA. Mr. Bioshock came up with that name, so we
Yeah.
decided to just keep it around and use it for our podcast. So, a little bit about yourself, Bioshock. Go ahead and get us started.
Um, I'm Bioshock. I've been playing the game since roughly 2005. Um, I prefer the Horde over the Alliance for the most part. Um,
Boo.
favorite class is kind of a toss-up because Buck knows I play a lot of classes, but if I had to pick one that I've been playing the most since I started playing the game, would definitely be Rogue. So, I play a lot of different classes, especially in PvP. But yeah, I'd say my main's a Rogue.
Gotcha. And what's your favorite thing to do in the game? Like PvP, Mythic Plus, Raid?
It's a toss-up. I used to only PvP and like hardly ever do anything else. But I I've kind of grown to love Mythic Plus a little bit. I think it's a lot of fun, especially
Yeah.
when you're not pugging it, or at
Oh
least
yeah,
yeah, some
yeah.
people like together.
Yeah, if you got a tank that'll run with you all the time.
Yeah.
um, and I am Buck Blind. I have been playing since Lich King, 2009 or something. I think is when I started, like early 2009. And I main a demon hunter, as most people who know me know, and I play pretty much nothing else. Uh, I will try other classes, but I never.
It's never
I,
the
I, I
same.
always go back to demon hunter. I think the longest stint I had was during season 2 of Shadowlands when I was playing the druid. That was probably the
Right, yeah.
longest stint I had of playing something different, and that was because demon hunters were atrocious at the time. Um, but yep, I am all for the Alliance, but I play on the Horde side because Arcane Torrent, as a demon hunter, it's
Yeah,
nice.
with
Plus, as I've
with
told this story,
Plus.
yes, I've told the story before. And I mainly just do Mythic Plus. Might look at doing some raiding here in this next expansion. We'll see. But I mainly do Mythic Plus, and um, the reason I like Arcane Torrent over Shadow Meld, even though Shadow Meld is fantastic, it really is actually a great ability for Mythic Plus. It can allow a lot of skips and stuff. However, I like to keep my racial abilities on the same button, the same keybind. And what happens is because I'm so used to playing Arcane Torrent, I tried Alliance Demon Hunter for a while and I'm a tank. I tried tanking on Alliance Demon Hunter for a little while, and something that happened more often than I would like to admit was I would see, oh, there's a bunch of buffs on these guys. I should Arcane Torrent them, and I would hit my button for Arcane Torrent. Except it wasn't Arcane Torrent because I was Alliance. It was Shadow Meld, and as a tank, when you drop all threat, your group wipes.
Yeah, it's
So
a
yeah,
rough one.
I stay on Horde for now. We'll see. I may go Alliance at some point. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah,
I
I,
love the
I
Alliance side better.
I do like the Alliance a lot. The reason why I say Horde is just 'cause I've been Horde for like 3 expansions now, but there's a lot of I like a lot of the races on Alliance more than Horde. I think they look better in the gear in general.
Yeah, I like the layout and the look of the Alliance zones a whole lot better than the Horde ones. Um, Stormwind is awesome. I love, especially in BFA, man. Borealis Harbor versus Zoldazar. Zoldazar was laid out terribly. I mean, I
You
don't
don't
know.
know some? Go
Hmm?
on.
I don't know whose idea it was to be like, hey, so your Hearthstone and all your bank and all that, all your crafty stuff is going to be at the top of this pyramid, and then all your essential stuff for like doing anything else is at the bottom of the pyramid, and you have to spend time going back and forth every single time. It was awful. Borealis,
So
everything was just together.
if this is gonna sound kind of crazy, but in BFA, I never leveled a single Alliance tune.
Huh.
So I don't know the zones at all. I like I said, only been playing Horde for a while now, and
Gotcha. So in
it's
BFA, I really liked the leveling zones over there. Um, I don't know. The quest line for neither side was amazing, but as far as zone wise, like Drustvar was just amazing. Um, Storm Song Valley was beautiful.
yeah.
But yeah, no, it was the Horde side was all right. They had a good storyline too.
Yeah.
But all right, so we are going to go ahead and jump into some news for this week. And the other day we were going over show notes. I'm sitting here thinking, man, we're not gonna have. There's not a whole lot of big news. It's just kind of meh news. And then today they hit us with the big announcement. Dragonflight launch date has been revealed. November 28th is the launch date at the moment. And then they said that season one is going to start on December 12th. And the new thing for this season is that they're going to immediately have Mythic Raid will be out along with normal and heroic. There's not going to be a 1 week delay like normal. And then they're also going to have cross faction raiding right away. Now, I'm assuming with the cross faction rating, is that going to mean that cross realm rating is also available? I'm not sure. I feel like it would be.
I think it would be, yeah.
That's what I'm thinking, but I don't know for sure. Because otherwise, what's the point of cross faction being available? Because if you have to switch servers anyway, you might as well switch factions too.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm sure we'll get a little bit more info on that. But yes, that sounds fun. So what do you think about the launch date? Any thoughts on that?
It's actually exactly where I thought it was going to be. I remember talking to you a couple of months ago, and I was like, late November.
Yep.
Uh,
I
uh,
I
go
still
on.
feel like and I tweeted this out a little bit earlier today. I feel like it's still too early. I don't know with where we're at in beta right now. I feel like it's not going to be ready in 2 months. Um, or
There's
if
get
it
some
is, it'll
serious
feel
testing done.
rushed. Yeah, I mean, like they're still having some major bugs and stuff, like the vendor bug. That's a why is that an issue all of a sudden? It hadn't been an issue for the last several builds. All of a
Ooh,
sudden, now nobody can vendor anything.
I know a couple bugs that bothered me on
Okay.
the beta. So one is a rogue. If you re-sap somebody a second time, it takes you out of stealth, which is like
That's
what?
yeah, it is weird.
And
Have
the other bug is if you are an arcane mage and you fight a rogue, every time the rogue auto hits you, it pops up a Lua air.
yep, that's annoying. Have
Because
you noted? Did they fix the bug that rogues were having, where like half your
shadow
abilities weren't
step.
working?
Yeah, everything's working now except for like the sap bug is all. But
All
other than
right,
that,
that's good.
everything's working now. Yeah.
Awesome. I know they just fixed the Demon Hunter bug where demonic was lasting for 30 seconds. I wish they hadn't because it was so wonderful. But it was so OP, so OP.
Yeah, it's not intended.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like they're probably gonna go ahead and launch it on the 28th, whether or not it's ready, because
Yeah.
I don't think they can push it back any farther where it will time wise will make sense. Because so with Shadowlands, it was supposed to launch in October. They pushed it back to the end of November. Okay, didn't really affect too much. But with this, like if you push it back when you're going to push it back to, because they're not going to launch like the week of Christmas, so you can't push it back a month. you could
Yeah.
you could push it back a couple of weeks, but then what are you doing for your season one start? Because they're not going to start season one Christmas week. They're which is when that would line up as. They would have to either launch the game early to mid December and then wait until after New Year's to launch season one, and I don't think they want to do that. But I think right now I still have a lot of concerns with a lot of bugs. There's a lot of bugs with a lot of different classes. And here's the thing that really concerns me as somebody who mainly loves Mythic Plus. We haven't even started Mythic Plus testing. They just started raid testing today.
Yeah.
and you're telling me that it's going to be ready to go in 2 months because we're less than 2 months away from launch date now.
Yeah. True.
That kind of concerns me. I feel like we need at least two to 3 weeks of Mythic Plus testing, 2 to 3 weeks of raid testing, to figure out any bugs that are in there. No one. I mean, I don't know. We haven't done the heroic dungeons or tried those out yet, but
Yeah.
um,
Um. I I don't know if you know this or not. I'm assuming this is the answer. Maybe this is a stupid question, but you said that the first season starts December 12th. Does that mean Mythic Dungeons or Mythic Dungeons come out right away?
so Mythic level dungeon.
It usually comes out at the start of the season, right?
Well, so Mythic Zeros
Well,
might be
Mythic Zero.
available right away.
Yeah, because I remember doing Mythic Zeros like on like the third day and did them all.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say I think Mythic Zeros are right away. Um, Now, yes. So typically, what happens is Mythic Plus comes out the start of season one,
Yeah.
but the loot is typically capped. It's varied. During BFA, they would cap it at like a +6 was what they would cap it at.
Right.
But then for Shadowlands, they've been capping it at +10s.
Right. Yeah.
So the question is, and I think is kind of what you're leading to, is since they're starting the Mythic Raid, because they always done that because the Mythic Raid doesn't start until 1 week after the season starts, and they don't
Uh
want
huh.
everyone going and getting all this, to what, almost Mythic level gear from Mythic Plus before Mythic Raid even starts. So with Mythic
Yeah.
Raid starting, um, are they going to allow? Are they going to still cap Mythic Plus loot that very first week, or are we going to be automatically able to go up to 15s and get loot for 15s? I don't know. They did say during their information that they talked about today, uh, they mentioned, um, they said that they would have more info on the Mythic Plus stuff coming up. They said they're specifically mainly uh, focusing on on the raid and stuff. So I don't know if they've decided yet. They probably have as far as that goes, but I don't know if they've got all the details worked out. But my guess is it's going to be uncapped. That would be my guess. If we're going to have Mythic Raid, there's no reason to cap it unless, they just want to punish Mythic Plus players, which
Yeah.
sometimes it feels like they do.
Yeah. Um. Okay. So hop into the next point.
Yep, go right
Winds
ahead.
of Wisdom. Winds of Wisdom buff starts October 4th. Is that like the leveling from 1
That
to 60?
Yes, that is the 50% experience buff. So that's going to be starting next Tuesday. As we're recording this, by the
Okay.
way, it is Thursday night, September
29th.
30th. Yeah, 29th for you because I'm 2 hours ahead of you. It's the
Right.
30th. It's Thursday night, the 29th, early Friday morning for me. Um,
Right. Yeah.
but yes, so 50% buff starting next Tuesday. That I believe they said is going to last all the way until launch night. Let me double check that. It's either launch night or it is until pre-patch, but I believe it is until launch. Do, do, do. It will
Yeah.
be running until. They say it will run until the winds will shift once more. Yep. So when Evoker becomes playable in pre-patch, which is not going to be right away. I guess when pre-patch starts, during pre-patch is when Evoker will become available, but not until like a week into pre-patch or something. It's not right at the start. So yeah, you're
Why?
probably.
Was that?
I'm not sure. I just know that's something that they're planning on doing with that. Is it's going to
Oh,
be
okay.
there? It's I don't know if it's part of whatever storyline they're going to tell to kind of introduce the Drakthir to everyone. I'm not sure, but yeah, I do remember them saying that like the pre-patch will start, and then during the pre-patch is when you'll get your Drakthir, but it won't be right at the bat. Could be wrong on that, but I remember right. That's what they were saying. But yes, and you know what Winds of Wisdom buff means, right?
Speed running.
Yes, it means next Friday night because it lines up perfectly. So this upcoming week should be, I'll have to double check, but it should be Dark Moon Fair. I'll have the Winds
I
of
can
Wisdom
check right
buff.
now.
And are you on beta or are you on live?
Live.
Awesome.
Dark Moon Fair starts on Sunday, the
Yes.
2nd, so in a
Yep.
couple
So
days.
yes. So next Friday night on this October 7th, I will be doing a Demon Hunter speed run from level 8 to level 60, and with that 50% buff, oh, it's gonna be so much fun. Um,
Yeah, you should probably quickly explain that you do speedrunning real quick to everyone.
yes, I do a bunch of speed runs. In case those of you that don't know me, I've done speed running since middle of BFA. Basically, I started doing speed runs. Was inspired by the great Des Mephisto. Um, Absolutely awesome dude. Great speed runner. Uh, Check him out if you haven't ever heard of him. He's a fantastic guy. Um, I was inspired by him, started doing speed runs, and so currently I hold the top spot for the level 10 to 60 speed run for Shadowlands. And we're gonna increase that. We're gonna probably knock it down. I'm gonna say
It's
now.
gonna go by quick.
I think 6 hours. I think 6 hours or less is what we'll end up doing. But
Yeah.
that'll be a lot of fun. Um, so on to the next big news, reset for this week was Tuesday, obviously. Wednesday for anybody in the EU. The affixes for Mythic Plus, since we are focusing mainly on Mythic Plus. We'll get a little bit
Yep.
of rating, a little bit of PvP here, but like I said, we both kind of focus mainly on Mythic Plus. Our
Yeah.
affixes this week are Tyrannical, Sanguine, Storming, and Shrouded. That's what it's called, right? Is it called Shrouded? Yeah, it's Shrouded. It's the fourth one. But yeah, those are, I mean, Tyrannicals, whatever. Sanguine is, ugh. Storming is annoying, but as a tank, Storming's easy.
Yeah, Storming's no big deal.
Yeah, it's not a great push week because Sanguine is not fun, man. You always get those people that like to stun them right as somebody dies, and then they're just all sitting in a pool of blood healing up.
Makes that which dungeon's really bad for? Is that Grimrail Depot?
Oh yeah, Grimrail Depot is a no-go this week.
Oh, that's so rough. That's so rough.
Yeah, Grimrail Depot. I will not. I mean, we haven't done Mythic Plus in a couple weeks, but Grimrail Depot is avoided at all costs on Sanguine. Um, Go ahead and get on to our
um,
next point there.
how do you pronounce that name? No,
Yeah, it's now Noah. I'm not sure.
now world first 80 Wrath Lich King.
Yep.
Is he the one that did it in like 6 hours or something?
Yes. He hit the world first level 80. Once the Lich King Classic came out. He is a who does he raid for now? I know he was with Limit, and then I went to Method. I think he's still raiding with Method. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, no, he's one of the world first guys, usually competing up there. But yeah, he hit the world first level 80. Just wanted to throw that in there. So I like the speed running stuff. Um, usually, Genji is usually who ends up getting that world first.
Yeah, I saw him
So it's,
streaming it.
yeah, so it's interesting that now I ended up beating him. But and then let's
Okay.
see here. Eh. All right, so let me pull this up. All right, so hot fixes. You got that pulled up, Bio?
Yes.
All right. So let's see. They did have some hot fixes today. Looks like a lot of it is basically Lich King Classic. The only one for today, it's just a little mount thing, not a big deal.
Yeah. Also, we probably won't talk too much about Wrath because none of us play it.
Yep. You
We'll
do if you
bring up
want to.
stuff.
I was gonna say one point on Wrath is if you want to get your mount. I think that is over with soon if it's not already, right?
Yeah, it's done now because Wrath launched.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if they had said it was gonna. There's something that I just saw a minute ago. The Frostblood Proto Worm, is that what we got?
Yes.
That's the mount. That will no longer be obtainable on. So actually, you can still get it. But once Dragonflight launches, you will no longer be able to get that Frostblood Proto Worm mount. So, to get that, what do we have to do?
You gotta level a Death Knight on any server, doesn't matter, from 55. Actually, it doesn't matter where you end, as long as you finish the quest line to go into your major city, let it be Orgrimmar or Stormwind, turn in the quest, and it's done. You log out, log back on retail, and it's a present waiting in your mount tab.
Yep, yep. So yep, just finished the demon or the Death Knight starting zone from the original one, which was a lot of fun. Honestly, we
Yeah,
did
we
we did
did it.
that a
It was
couple
fun.
weeks ago. Yeah, I always liked that Death Knight starting zone, man. It's a lot of fun to do.
Makes you feel very powerful. You do a lot of damage.
Right? Yeah. Well, I mean, Death Knights were very strong during Lich King because they wanted them to be strong, and
Yeah,
they
first
succeeded.
hero class. Demon
um,
Hunter's really strong in their starting zone too, but I feel like Evokers. I know we'll probably get into it in a little bit, but Evokers, man,
oh, yeah.
they just
Yeah,
feel
we'll get
weak.
to that here in a little bit. But yeah, there's haven't
Yeah,
been really been any big hot fixes this week. Couple little bug fixes. I don't think they even. I think this is might have been the first week where we hadn't seen a nerf to lower Karazhan.
true. Lower
Because
carries been nerfs like crazy.
yeah, it's been ridiculous. All right, so I didn't really notice any huge changes in the beta builds. Um,
Yeah, me neither.
we do have raid testing started tonight. I think it was just the first two bosses
Did they
on.
did they come out with the PVE vendor? Do you know?
I have not been on to check, honestly. I'm on there right now. Let me see.
I'll hop on as well.
But yeah,
But
so
meantime, we look at that. You just at the next point.
yep. So next up, basically, we wanted to talk about the current season of Mythic Plus. So we're in season 4 for Shadowlands, and it's a
The
lot. We,
last season.
yep, about last season, and of course they wanted to do something a little different for this season, which it's an interesting. I've got some thoughts on it. But so basically, your raids, they had faded raids, which gave each of the raids different affixes. They scaled up the first few raids from the first 3 seasons, scaled those up so that you can compete in those as as a current season difficulty, with new affixes in there. I haven't done any of them yet. I haven't even been interested in doing them yet. I think they're going pretty well. I think it's got had a lot of positive response on the faded raids, so I'm guessing we'll see more of that in the future. Um, I haven't really seen anything too negative on the faded raids. Honestly, I think a lot of people were
Oh, have
happy
I?
with it, and a lot of people liked the little twists that they had on there. As far as season 4 goes, for Mythic Plus, they added. Well, they got rid. We aren't doing any of the Shadowlands dungeons outside of Tazavesh, um, Gambit, and Streets, which is fine, whatever. And then we've got Upper and Lower Karazhan, as we mentioned earlier. We've got Grimrail Depot and Iron Docks back from WAD. They scaled those up for Mythic Plus. And then we've got from
Legion, Kerosene.
from Legion we've got Karazhan. That's what it's Mechagon. BFA we've got
Ooh,
Mechagon
God.
dungeons,
Yeah, right.
Junkyard and Workshop. Which honestly the Mechagon one's not too bad. Junkyard's very easy because of all the robots. And then Workshop I enjoyed Workshop. It wasn't too bad once you figure it out, but I know a lot of people don't like the Iron Docks and Grimrail Depot, specifically
I'm with
Grimrail
that.
Depot. Iron Docks is not too
Ardot's
bad.
not too
It's
bad.
fairly quick. It's a fairly quick dungeon, so I think a lot of people have used it for kind of farming Valor. So it's seen a lot of
Yeah.
play, but and I'll go ahead and I'll let you get your thoughts first because yeah, everyone knows my
On the
thoughts.
on the new mythics.
Yeah, so well, on the way that they did this season. What's your thoughts on this season?
You know what? I like them bringing back some old dungeons. I just wish that they kept like 6 of the original and added 2 new one or old ones. Because it just feels weird to be in an expansion where you don't do any of the dungeons. You're just doing the mega dungeons and then 2 WAD dungeons.
Right.
So, uh, I don't mind the dungeons themselves. I think they're kind of fun, except for Grimrail. Parts of it, anyways. Um, but um,
Nice.
I
Okay.
I don't. I guess we'll talk about it later. How this is gonna work out next expansion, but I'm kind of looking forward to the next expansion, new dungeons again. I just hope they don't scrap them all in the last season.
Right, right.
It just
Um,
feels weird to me.
yeah. So I'm with you. I wish that we had still been doing the current season dungeons. Now,
Yeah,
as anyone who knows me knows, I am not a fan of them forcing us to do the old dungeons as Mythic Pluses. I think getting rid of the current dungeons and just now the old dungeons are part of your Mythic Plus pool. If you want to get a good Mythic Plus score, you have to do the old dungeons. I don't like that. I
yeah,
think, and I've said this a lot, the best move that they could have made would have been make time walking a weekly event and then put, just like they did with the Legion time walking Mythic Plus, give the other expansion dungeons Mythic Plus versions and do those during time walking. Now I understand that is a big ask and it's a lot of work because the way they're doing it is, well, they have to turn a few dungeons into Mythic Plus. Right now they
yeah,
had to convert 4 dungeons into Mythic Plus for this season. You do it with time walking. You have to convert a lot of them. But you know what? Maybe start off with, all right, here's this expansion. We already got Legion. Legion's already done, so you've got Legion. So then, do WAD dungeons, bring those up to a Mythic Plus level. I know we're not going to see Time Walking BFA until probably midway near the next expansion, because they usually wait until about halfway through the expansion um, to do any Time Walking dungeons. So we'll probably see BFA Time Walking near the middle of Dragonflight.
yeah,
But I think the best way to do that would have been make time walking a weekly thing, have your Mythic Plus for time walking dungeons then, because then the people that want to do that can go and do that. I get a lot of people want to go back, do the old dungeons, nostalgia. I've liked doing Karazhan for nostalgia's sake.
me
Um,
too.
I've liked doing Mechagon for nostalgia's sake. But yeah, I didn't care for the WAD dungeons just because I don't care for
Yeah,
the WAD dungeons. They aren't that
neither
good.
do I.
Um,
Yeah,
I think a lot of people didn't like the WAD dungeons, but WAD is a whole nother discussion.
yeah.
But no, I
Um,
just think it would have been nice to have that as an optional thing here. The people that love the old dungeons and really want this can do it, but still keep the new dungeons or the current dungeons as part of your season pool.
yeah.
That's just my big issue with it is getting rid of the current expansions dungeons just felt weird. Um, but
Um,
yeah,
yeah. Let's move along.
yep. What
Um,
about what about the affixes for this season? Are you liking the shrouded affix?
I do. I think it's makes you feel really strong.
Yep.
I think it's interesting that they put it in, not in a bad way. But I'm just like, I never would have thought of something like that, to be honest.
Right. Yeah.
Not
I
that it's like crazy elaborate, but I just didn't think of like, oh, it's just increasingly send these demons out, these Nathrazim, and
right.
then you get a buff every time you kill them. I think it's cool. It makes a 10 easier than an 8.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in a lot of cases, that seems to be what happens. Is the tens are easier than eights, eights and
Yeah,
nines. But what I like about it is so in the past we've had similar things that will give you buffs like the lieutenants and whatever. You kill a lieutenant, gives you a buff. We had that during season 3, I think it was. I think it was season 3 where you would you kill the lieutenant and then you chose between one of the 3 buffs that you could get. Now, what I like
yeah,
about this is your lieutenants were spaced out. You didn't have to kill them. But you got your buff if you did. It was just better if you did kill them.
yeah,
But I think what's nice about this is it's kind of almost like a passive buff. Like you don't have to. change your pulls and change your routes based off of it all, um, and go out of your way to try to get a lieutenant. Because I know with the lieutenants, if there was one position in a spot you normally wouldn't pull, guess what? Now you're going to go pull that spot because you have to go and get the lieutenant.
Yeah.
With this, it's kind of nice because they're all over the place. One, there's a lot more than I thought there would be. Um, but it's just, they're parts of the mobs. You just go, you attack the mob, and it turns into a demon, and then you just kill the demon with the rest of the mob. It's nice because it's a nice buff, but it's not a whole lot of extra.
Yeah.
I thought they've done a good job with uh, their seasonal affixes this expansion. I don't.
Yeah.
I think I know the very first season. A lot of people. It was weird. It was a good buff, prideful, but it kind of forced you to do your pulls in a certain way and left a lot of options out. And you could also, if you screwed up your trash pulls and got too much percentage, you would blow the buff and it'd be wasted. So that
Yeah.
was probably the only bad one. But I had a lot of fun with this season so far.
Yeah. Me too.
What about just the regular affixes? I know we have. They've talked about. I know kind of get some notes for a little bit later, but they're potentially getting rid of necrotic and inspiring. They did confirm we will not have necrotic and inspiring for season 1. They didn't say if it's permanently going away, but they did say that it is going away for the first season.
I would assume it's going away in general, unless they think because they need to bring it back. I think personally, if they're going to get rid of it for one season, might as well get rid of it in general.
I agree, yeah, for sure. I would rather see both those gone.
Yeah.
I personally never had an issue with necrotic, just because I'm a demon hunter, but most other tanks, it's an issue. Um,
Yeah.
Obviously, as a demon hunter, no, I've got 50 stacks of necrotic. Well, let me just leap away. um,
Yeah.
inspiring though, inspiring, I never liked. I would rather have sanguine and necrotic than inspiring. It just, to me, inspiring was just annoying. It either required you to CC a mob and then kill everything else, or you had to just try to burn it down and hope you don't die. And I don't think that was a fun mechanic.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to see inspiring gone.
Me too.
As far as the affixes we've seen, do you have any that you really like? Any affixes you're a fan of?
Um, I'd have to hold on. Let me. I'm trying to pull up the list.
We've got
I like.
we've got volcanic, storming.
I think one. It's hard to pick one that I like because I hate them all. But ones that I can tolerate are storming and explosive. I think explosive is easy to deal with. Now they reduce health, big one shot will always.
Right, right.
Especially it's hard. It's a little bit harder if you have like casters. I think.
Yeah, it just
Um,
depends.
Depends on what class, but it's easy to deal with. Actually, the only time I have issues with explosive is when you pull so much and you can't attack the ads because there's so many explosives going off. That's
My bad.
all you're doing. It's like
Yeah.
all you're doing is killing explosives. You can't do anything else.
Yep. I always have fun on those pulls. I do like to do that. Yeah. No, explosive really isn't too bad. Especially because you can just auto it. Like as a tank, I can just go over and auto attack them. That's why I get so many of them now. Is because I can just auto attack or use my fracture on them. It is a little
Yeah,
difficult because with explosive you do have to use single target. You can't use AOE. So
yeah,
there's that part of it, and I only have 2 single target abilities pretty much. Um, but no, explosive I don't mind. Uh, I love volcanic. Volcanic's probably my favorite because it's just a non-affix.
yeah.
If you're
True.
in melee range, it doesn't matter. You don't have to deal with explosive or volcanic very much.
How do you feel about Spiteful?
So as a tank, Spiteful doesn't bother me because they don't go after tanks. They only go after DPS and healers.
I don't think it's that bad, to be honest. It's a little annoying,
Yeah,
but
I think so. I think here's the thing: in a pug group, Spiteful, the way you are supposed to deal with Spiteful is just CC it and keep moving.
Yeah.
But the way that 99% of pugs deal with it is everyone just stands around fighting them, trying to kill them off, because they lose health every second. I think it's like
Yeah, they do.
8% of their health or 12% of their health or something every second. So they will die on their own. You
Yep.
just got to keep moving. Um, but yeah, most groups just keep on fighting them and attacking them and stuff. Now, I will say the few times that I've faced Spiteful when I tried Havoc, I got killed about 5 times to Spiteful because I'm not used to running away from them. So yeah, I get the frustration with some DPS that struggle with Spiteful. Uh, as a range, it would not be fun. As a melee, it's not terrible, but it's not fun.
Yeah.
As a tank, it's not an issue. Let me think here. What are some of the other ones that we've got? Grievous really doesn't. I don't think I've had any issue with Grievous. It's more of a healing affix. I have to have it talk to a healer to really get an idea of how frustrating it is for them.
How do you
Um,
feel about raging?
so raging doesn't bother me too much. I like it whenever we have raging as an affix because it really doesn't affect the DPS or the healer. It just affects me as a tank.
Yeah.
And as long as you are smart on your defensives and save something for near the end of fights, it's not a big deal. My
You know,
only
like vengeance hunters getting blur or something.
Yeah, that'd be nice. It's too bad they took that away from us. Thanks for taking the knife and twisting it in my soul. Um, but no, I think so. Like raging, the only frustration I have with raging is if you have a purge or not a purge, a soothe effect. Use it, please.
Yeah.
Hunter, looking at you, hunters, druids.
Trank shot,
you
soothe.
if you have any, yeah,
Rogues get rid of it as well.
yeah, I've been in a lot of groups, especially with the rise of Survival Hunter. I've been in a lot of groups where on Raging Week, man, they don't bother to do anything with it. They just let it sit there, which isn't too big of a deal. I mean, I can take it as a DH. We heal enough; it's not that big of a deal. But when there are big mobs, it is annoying. Uh, like when there's large health mobs because they last longer. That last 30%. So it
Yeah.
does get a little annoying, but at the end of the day, if you have to, I can just kite. So I don't mind that one too much. Sanguine, of course, sucks. I don't think anyone
Yeah.
would sit here and say that Sanguine is fun. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's bad enough that they got to get rid of it. I think it's fine being in the game.
Okay, let's go on to the next.
Yep. So as far as your dungeons for this season, well, not this season, for the Shadowlands ones that we aren't doing this season, yay! Uh, how would you rank the dungeons this season? Which ones would you? What would you
This
list
season or
as
this
a
expansion?
this expansion, the Shadowlands dungeon specifically?
Ooh, I like I like
List,
them
list them
all.
in your list them in your favorite to your favorite to least favorite.
That's a lot. I'll just name off my top three.
All right.
Spires of Ascension. And these are in no order. These are just ones that I like.
Right.
Spires of Ascension, Theater of Pain, and Halls of Atonement.
Not bad.
I like those three. But to be fair, I think all the dungeons are pretty good, well designed, very different from each other. So it's fun, and it's not the same content over and over. Like same like kind of mechanics in different dungeons.
Right.
Yeah. My least favorite though, if I had to pick a least favorite one, I'd probably say Sanguine Depths.
Really?
It's not that bad. Maybe the other side. I don't know. It's hard to choose. Like I said, I like most of them.
No, that's understandable. Yeah, I think so. My favorite is probably Miss Tyrannusai
Hmm.
or Sanguine Depths. Honestly, is probably my second favorite. I really like Sanguine Depths because of the massive pulls I can do.
I do like Sanguine Depths with Eventhier.
Yes, yes. Yeah, without Event Theory, that one could be a pain. Yeah, no, my favorites would be probably Mist of Tyrannusai, uh, Sanguine Depths. I did not like the other side at first, but I got so much practice in it trying to get my blood spattered scale that I actually like the dungeon now.
It's
Uh,
not a bad dungeon.
yeah, then
It's kind of
then
annoying. pug group on the last boss.
Yeah. Then
You
probably
call it.
Necrotic Wake. Uh, after that, so that's where I start to go bleh. Like I didn't care for Halls of Atonement, Spires of Ascension, Plaguefall, or Theater of Pain too much. I think Theater of Pain's probably my favorite of those four.
Yeah,
Spires would probably be next, and then I don't know if Halls of Atonement and Plaguefall. Halls of Atonement probably is a little bit better than Plaguefall. Plaguefall, I just didn't like Plaguefall because it felt like a lot of groups would struggle in there, and it would get really difficult.
yeah,
Um, but no, I mean I don't think any of them were that bad. I
right.
think they're just little quirks about it. Halls I just didn't like because of the dogs, the enrage on the dogs. Oh, it's so annoying. You're just constantly running from them as a tank. Spires, I only didn't like Spires because there aren't any big pools. Kind of the same reason I don't like Theater. There just aren't big pools in there. As a tank,
Right.
as an AOE tank, I love the big pools. That's why I like Mist. That's why I like Sanguine Depths, because I can do big pools in there. You give me a dungeon where I can pull 10, 15 mobs at once, I'm going to like that dungeon. It's just a
Yeah.
lot of fun. Um, but no, I think they were all good dungeons. Probably going to miss a few of them. Some of them I won't miss. I think what was good is we did not have any Toldagors this expansion. Nothing where it's
Yeah.
so buggy it's just unplayable. Toldagor is probably one of the worst, buggiest dungeons they've ever made. Um, and I guarantee you, whenever they put BFA dungeons into the mix, I guarantee you that's going to end up being one of their ones that they'll throw into rotation. Just
Do we
cause.
know? Do we know how many dungeons are going to be in the next expansion?
There are 8 dungeons. Yep, there are going to be 8 dungeons for the next system, next season. Which leads us into our next talking point: uh, the Mythic Plus system for Dragonflight, where we're going to do 4 of the new dungeons, and we're going to do 4 old dungeons. Um, we are doing.
I like
I again I think I don't have such an issue with them bringing the old dungeons into the dungeon pool. What I don't like is that we're gonna be missing out on 4 of the new dungeons right off the bat. Like we got
that.
to
Yeah.
wait till season 2 to even get to do. And
Wait, wait, wait.
you could go on Mythic 0 and do them, but you
Yeah, that's what
can't
I
do
was
them at
saying.
Mythic Plus.
Oh,
I
okay.
would have liked to have seen it where we have 12 dungeons, 8 of them are the new ones, and then we bring in the 4. I think that's the issue. The best seasons have been when we've had like 10 or 12 dungeons that you can do. I think that's where Blizzard got a little confused. Everyone said, "Hey, we want more dungeons," and Blizzard took that as we want different dungeons instead of we want more dungeons.
If
Uh,
if I'm correct, BFA had 12 dungeons,
I believe so. Yeah, I believe we had 12 dungeons by the end of BFA. Um,
which is nice.
yeah, it was great. And they were good dungeons too. Like there were not, other than Toldagor, there really weren't any terrible dungeons in BFA. They were all. I think the best way to describe BFA's dungeons is they all had a ton of character. And
Yeah.
that's what this expansion kind of lacked in their dungeons. Like the dungeons were good, but they just didn't have that character. Like
Yeah.
you asked me to rank best WoW dungeons of all time. Freehold is going to be number 1 every time. Freehold, I think, is the best dungeon they've ever made in this game. It was hilarious. It was fun. It was a good flowing dungeon too, and it was just the NPCs in there were great. I think it had that perfect mix of Blizzard World of Warcraft wackiness, but also wasn't a super long dungeon. It was just a lot of fun. Um,
Yeah.
I think it
Yeah.
was one of my favorite dungeons of all time.
All right. I'm gonna add something to this list of what we're talking about.
All right.
Which dungeon in Dragonflight are you looking forward to the most? Just
Um,
based on the name or the bosses or the pictures or
Yeah, so,
whatever.
so I'm actually looking up the dungeons right now because I wanted to get a list of what we're doing for this, the dungeons, because I know they've listed what dungeons we're doing. Um, hang on, Dragonfly season
I think
one.
think an old modern dungeon sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that one could be cool. I'd have to look at the actual. Let me see here. So that's the raid. I think the Azure Vault sounds like a lot of fun for me.
I've
Um,
I've, I've seen some gameplay on it, and it reminds me of that Nexus dungeon. Which one? The platforms?
the Nexus, yeah. That's
Well,
it's literally
there's
called the
the
Nexus. There's three dungeons there, but yeah, it's the it's the Nexus. They've got Eye of Eternity raid. Uh,
okay, let's look it up. Wrathless King, Oculus.
yes, Oculus.
That's what Azure Vault reminds me of, kind of.
That
Not
makes sense, yeah.
exactly, but
Well,
a
the
little
Azure
bit.
Vault's going to be the Blue Dragonflight, which is exactly
Yeah,
what that is, in Lich King. But I think those should be interesting. I haven't tried out any of the dungeons on beta. That's something I plan on doing this weekend. The next,
yeah,
actually, honestly, probably after we're done with this tonight, it's probably what I want to do is test out some of the dungeons, try them out, see
yeah.
what they're like. But no, so for season one, the dungeon lineup is Ruby Life Pools, the
Okay.
Nokud Offensive, the Azure Vault, and Algathar Academy. Those are the four
Oh,
new ones that we're getting.
I don't know if you've seen anything on the Nokud offensive, but
Mhm.
you use your Dragonflight in it a ton, apparently.
Huh, interesting.
You use it to fly between mobs, actually,
Nice.
which is pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Um, then the four old dungeons that are coming back, we've got Halls of Valor, which is coming back from Legion. Personally,
I like Halls of Valor.
I have very mixed feelings on it. I love that dungeon. The theme of that
Me
dungeon,
too.
the feel of it, I love it.
Yeah.
That being said, from a Mythic Plus perspective, it is an awful, awful dungeon. It is like a 45-minute Mythic Plus dungeon because there's so much backtracking. You're gonna go down. You're gonna go to the right wing or the left wing, whichever way you want to go. Then you're gonna come back, go to the other wing. Then you're gonna come back to go back to the middle wing. It's a very slow dungeon with just so much backtracking. Uh, but again, like as far as just dungeon itself, I love that dungeon. It was so much fun. I like all the Valkyr type stuff and the Viking Norse type mythology and stuff that they've got. That's one of my favorite parts of it. Um, the second dungeon we've got from that's coming back from Legion is Court of Stars. Personally, I hate it. Uh,
Really?
I never
I
liked Court of Stars. I did the Court of Stars and then the other one that they had that was like Nighthold themed. I never liked either of them.
of the
I don't remember
Nighthold themes is
there was Court of Stars and
the
then
Cathedral of Eternal Night.
no, it was a different one. Um, hang on here. Court of Stars and then the Arcway. That was the other one. I didn't like either
Oh,
of those. I will say Court of Stars is probably a little bit better than the Arcway. I just didn't care for either of those dungeons.
yeah.
Um,
All right.
and then
Um,
we've got from the other two dungeons that we're doing is Shadow Moon Burial Grounds from WAD, which kind of wish they just had left a WAD dungeon out, but whatever. That one's not. I don't know that dungeon very well, honestly. Um,
neither do I.
and then Temple of the Jade Serpent from Mop, which honestly the Mop dungeons are pretty good. They have a lot of good dungeons there. I think that one will be fine. Um,
Which one? Mogushon Palace, you said?
no,
Oh, Temple of the Jade
Temple of the
Serpent.
Jade Serpent.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one.
Yep. Yeah. Do you got any thoughts on those?
I'm looking forward to the mop one. I'm looking forward to Halls of Valor. Don't care for Shadow Moon Burial Grounds.
Agreed.
And what? And what's in Port of Stars? I'm mixed feelings. I don't think it's too bad, but I mean, it's been years since I've run it.
Right. Yeah, I think Court of Stars
So
will be okay just because it's only got like three bosses. So
yeah,
hopefully it'll be a fast dungeon. Um,
yeah.
but we'll see.
Okay, should we move on to the towns now?
Yes. So go ahead and yeah, you've got a lot more practice with this. You've tested a lot more classes than I have. So, what's your thoughts on the talent tree system?
I think it's amazing. I think it was like probably the biggest change of the expansion to me, and I think it makes classes that I've never played before seem more enticing to play. Um, I think some classes got shafted in the class tree, but the specs trees are pretty good for the most part. Like, um, Druid class tree is awful, and
Yep.
I think because it's 4 specs they're trying to cover in the same amount of nodes as every other class.
Yep.
So I think that's the issue with Druids. Um, I don't know much about Paladins either, but I know that Shadow Priest class tree was all right, but you had a lot of leftover talents to spend into like the Holy Tree, which is kind of interesting, I guess. Um, but the actual spec trees from like everything I've tested, it's just it's awesome. You know, you're getting legendary abilities, or you're getting covenant abilities in almost every spec. You get these like returning abilities from like Mop and Wad and Legion, and new ones that make the specs feel smoother, more fun. I think they did an amazing job. I don't have any complaints other than about the Druid class tree.
The druid class is really bad.
It's a
Um,
mess. It's a
yeah, it.
mess.
I think the only concern that's again kind of going back to the launch date and everything. That's one of the concerns I have because they already been like, well, we're done with the talent trees. We think they're good. We just need to tune the abilities. I'm like, I think the druids would disagree with you there. Um, but
I do feel that the newest change and the last change I think they're making for talents is Boomkins. Is that Boomkins are in a fantastic spot for Mythic Plus and rating. They
oh, really, they're gonna
do.
be good for Mythic Plus.
Oh, they're gonna do really well. Yeah.
Nice. I know you said their single target was really good. I didn't know about their AOE.
Yeah. So on 3 targets is pulling about 75k.
Nice.
And single target is pulling about 40, close to 50k.
Hmm.
So it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's something I
Um,
need to do is test out some of the other classes, not necessarily to play them, but just kind of know
just to learn.
yeah, know what's going to be decent, what might not be decent.
Well, that's kind of why I started playing so many classes over a couple of years, is because like in PvP, the more you know about the other classes, the better you do.
Right.
So I used to not play as many classes. I used to just stick with my rogue and my mage. But as time went on, I started doing more PvP and more and more and more. I decided to play other classes to have fun, but then at the same time, I was learning and getting better at PvP.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think they did a really good job with the towns.
Yeah. No, I'm a big fan of it. I like the changes. Um, I especially like the Demon Hunter changes. I do wish that Demonic had just stayed the way it was with the bug, but I also, for the love of God, Blizzard, please give Vengeance Blur back. Please,
Yeah,
just nerf it a little bit, but give us
just
that extra defensive.
get rid of the dodge and just have the 20% damage reduction.
Yep, and you can even knock it down to 8 seconds instead of 10, because that's what all the other, Bark Skin is 8 second 20% damage reduction. Argent Defender for Paladins is 8 seconds 20 second or 20% damage reduction. Just give us that. That's all I'm wanting. I just want something because there's too many gaps. Um, we'll see though. I think there's potentially going to be a little bit easier for demon hunters with the gap issue that we've always had with some of the talents that we've got. I think the demon spikes should have a bit more uptime with some of the ways I've got. I haven't tested out in a dungeon yet, so we'll see. That's kind of what we're gonna do this weekend, I think. Um,
Yeah,
but I think it'll be all right. Um, but no, I love the setup. I love the way it looks. Um, I think there's still some weird positioning on some talents. Uh, it is what it is. It's not terrible on a lot of trees, but like I know even on the Demon Hunter tree, like it looks pretty good for like 95% of the talent options. But then you have the weird, like, the right side of the tree is clearly all AoE, and then
Yeah.
here's one talent that is a super strong single target talent. But if you're going for a single target build, you can't spend talents to go get it. And then on the other side, it's a clearly a single target build, but here's a really strong AOE ability. But you can't spend if you're trying to build for Mythic Plus, you can't spend the talent points to go and get it. Um,
Yeah.
I think
So
there's some weird positioning there where like you have a random AOE talent or a random single target talent on spots where it's clearly not what that build is meant for.
yeah. So for example, the rogue tree for subtlety, the damage tree and increasing shadow dance and all that kind of stuff is down the middle. So you have like leftover points on left and right. Not very much, but I mean it adds up. But
Yeah.
on either side you have like I don't know, like 5, 6 grades on each side.
Yep.
Um, but if I was to go AOE, I'd be going from all middle to middle and right,
Right.
leaving like single target on the left. No, a lot of single targets in the middle still, but I mean you'd be dropping so much to get the AOE that you're gonna miss out on some single target anyways. But I think I actually like that setup more because if you can just do AOE and single target, like no big deal, they're overpowered. Simple as that.
Right. Yeah.
Um, I I had to test my DK a little bit, and I didn't really look too much into Unholy other than for PvP, but for PvE for Frost, the left side of the tree is strictly single target, not a single AoE ability on that left side of the tree. And then on the right, you have so much AoE talents. It's just like that's interesting. If you doing tyrannical, maybe you go into more single target, then fortified you go into AoE, or if you're like raiding, you need single target, and you're just able to change it, and it's very obvious which what you're doing, left or right.
Right.
I think that's, I think personally, I think it's good. I don't think you should have single target and AOE.
Yeah. Now, I think what they tried to do is I think they failed on a few classes, but I think what they tried to
Yeah,
do was the middle of the tree is kind of like regardless of whether you're going for AoE or single talent, like the middle of the tree, here's your abilities. You're gonna almost always want to take those. I think some trees they failed a little bit on it,
yeah, yeah,
but then and then one side, and I think this is where they didn't quite go for this as much. But I think what they should have done is like middle of the tree, like for say, take for example, I feel like they did a decent job with it with Demon Hunter, Havoc Demon Hunter. I beam is the middle of the tree. Buff your I beam, that's kind of your focus of the middle of the tree. You want I
yeah,
beam whether you're doing single target or AoE. Now, if you go to the right side of the tree, it's more AoE focused rather than single target, which is great because then you've got your AoE on your right side, and then on the left side, you've got your single target. Again, you
yeah,
have like the random talents that are kind of out of place there. But I think overall, that's kind of what they were looking for is one side's more focused on AoE, one side's more focused on single target, and the middle is kind of focused on your core ability.
yeah,
Um, I think there's the downside of the talent tree system is that for players that haven't really played before MOP and they're only used to the normal talent trees that we've had, I think it can be a little bit intimidating for them
yeah.
when we first start. I think because even I know on classes, like jumping onto other classes, like I was gonna level up a monk the other day, and I jumped onto the monk, and I'm looking at talent tree, and I'm going, I don't have any idea what to pick here. Like I don't know the class that well. So I
Yeah.
think a lot of people can potentially have a little bit of intimidation factor at the start. But there'll be tons of guides that'll be coming out.
Yeah.
They'll have Blizzard doesn't want a cookie cutter build, but it's always going to happen.
But
You know,
yeah, there will be.
yeah, there's always going to be cookie cutter builds. Wowhead will have their guides. The top level guys will have what they do. Murloc IO is a great site for Mythic Plus stuff to take a look at. Um, so I mean, there will be resources for people who are a little intimidated to go and look at. You know, you can count on the good old WoW community in game to probably bash you and insult you when you don't know what your rotation is. Uh,
Yeah.
but hopefully, maybe this will be the expansion where people are finally nice and instead of saying get good, will actually help you learn how to play.
Yeah.
We'll see. Highly unlikely.
All right. Thoughts on Evoker?
Yes. So
I I've leveled 1 to 70. Um, Starting off, oh my goodness, it was frustrating. Very weak.
you have more
No
patience than me.
mobility. There are no mobility until you get hover. Obviously, not until you get 2 charge hover. 1 hover is not even enough.
No, it's not.
But it's slow. It's weak. It's boring. But then leveling was rough for the first like 4 levels because you have the worst gear possible.
Hmm.
And then once you get to like 68, 69, you start getting gears like around 380 or whatever, 390. And you start doing damage and you get the hover charges. It does get more fun um, if you have patience still. It's
Yeah.
not for me. I leveled it and it's not for me. I did not enjoy it as much as I thought I would.
Yeah. It looks really cool. I will
Yeah,
say, like, even the Drakthir design, the way they look, it looks awesome. I really like the look of it. I
yeah,
like the thought of how it's supposed to play. I just don't like the actual play style when I actually get down and play in it. Like you said, the starting area. Like I said, you had more patience than me because I got to level 61 and I think I just finished the starting zone or I'm like about to finish it, and that's all I could do for right now. I'm gonna get back on there at some point and finish leveling it and test it all the way out just to see. But I don't see myself maining an evoker anytime soon.
yeah.
Um,
I thought I was gonna main the Evoker. I was like, yeah, new caster, that's gonna be fun. I like playing new stuff.
right.
And then I was playing it, and I was like, yeah, no, not for me.
Yeah, and I think a large part of the issue is right now, the starting zone is slow because you don't have any gear. I mean, you literally start
Yeah,
off with like brand new level
130 or something.
60. Yeah, like it's the gear that you get when you've just hit level 60 right now. Like you're very weak on gear.
Yeah.
Uh, so I feel like they should have gotten like 220 gear to start with. I feel like that would have
Hmm.
been better. Um, yeah, like you said, they feel really weak. Part of it's because I'm used to playing Demon Hunter, and Demon Hunter is very strong burst, and Evoker does not feel like they have much burst right now. Again,
Yeah.
I don't know how it plays at higher levels. I'll finish leveling
There's
mine
a
at some point, but
there's a lot more um choices and spells you can cast as Evoker because you have the 3 schools. Um,
yeah.
but I mean, so their AOE is just kind of
Now, I
you
will
have to
say,
spec into the red tree, and if you want single target, spec into the blue tree.
right, I will say I do like so far the things I liked about it. I like the empower breath thing. I think the problem is for me, unless you have a tank, it's hard to get to be useful. So like for leveling, it's very. I had a hard time getting the little empowered breath thing to do well because everything's up in your face and the cone is so small. There's like
Yeah,
5 targets there, and you're hitting like 2 of them. I think in a dungeon setting or a raid setting where you have a tank that's holding threat and everything is farther away, and you can get them in the larger section of the cone, not a big issue. But
yeah.
I did enjoy the empowered ability. I like how it felt. I also liked. I don't know
Deep
what it's
breath.
called. Is that the one where you like have the little rectangular line? It's like the 2 minute cooldown or a minute and a half cooldown. It has like the rectangular line, and then you go through it, like attacking everything underneath it.
Yeah, that's deep breath.
Yeah, that ability. I like that. That was a lot of
That's
fun.
cool.
I
Yeah,
do
yep,
like that one. I think that's kind of a cool thing about Evoker is they've got a lot of new effects. It feels like it's a testing class for them, like they're trying to test out new ways of doing things.
yeah,
So it's going to be very different than what I think people are used to. I think some people be put off by it, especially the 25-yard range. I know a lot of people are not happy about that. I personally, I don't know. It felt a little weird. I'm not used to playing a range class, so I don't know how much of that weirdness was. I play melee, not range. Um,
No,
I
I
also,
think
I don't know. I think Blizzard may look at it and may actually extend it. I've heard some
they
stuff.
have.
Yeah, I've heard them talking about it, so we'll see. I don't think
I
anything's set in stone yet, but
I heard that they're only going to increase range of living flame from 25 to 30 yards. And that was it.
and that's like the one that could be healed or damaged, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that makes sense because that's probably going to be your main filler for healing, and I think that's really the issue. I don't think as a DPS the range
you catch
matters
them
so
sometimes.
much.
It's
Well, no, I'm
yeah,
saying I don't
I
think
don't,
the range matters too much as a DPS.
yeah,
Um,
I don't think it's too big of a deal for Mythic Plus, but in raiding it can get annoying if you got like dodge mechanics, but you're so close and you're like having to do melee mechanics.
yeah, yeah. I think it's one of the things you'll see in raiding because I know a lot of times in raid groups, you're gonna have your melee group and your range group. I would expect to see them kind of more get put into a melee range group rather than the caster range group because a lot of the casters they're going to be the full 35 to 40 yards away because that's where they want to be positioned to make mechanics easier. Obviously, a
Yeah.
Drac and Evoker can't do that, so they're going to have to be up close. Um, so I think that's kind of part of it. But no, I think certain people are gonna there's gonna be people that are gonna absolutely love them and love the way they play,
Yep. Oh, for sure.
because
Yep.
they're very unique, they're very different. There's nothing else like them in the game, and I do think that's great. Um,
Yeah.
like you said, it's not for me. It's just not. I'm a melee player anyway. I prefer melee over ranged. Um, so yeah, it's just that's just a me thing. I don't like casting. I want instant abilities. That's my favorite thing. Um, so in a future week, I don't think we're gonna do it tonight, but probably the next podcast we'll start doing kind of going into the different dungeons for Shadowlands for this season. Just kind of giving a little tips and stuff on it. Um, I don't think we're gonna do one tonight because we're getting a little bit long on time here, but I think we'll probably do that
Just over an
next
hour.
time. Yep.
Yep.
Um, again, we'll
Um.
also probably go over some Dragonflight dungeons. I know I plan on doing a lot of Dragonflight dungeon testing over these next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Which on that note of a couple of weeks, we will probably be doing these podcasts every other week for right now. We might go to to every week. I'm not sure. We'll kind of have to talk about it, discuss it, and we'll see. I just don't want to get too burnt out too quickly or anything, you know. So right now, I think at least for right now, we'll do a podcast every other week and then kind of go forward with that. We'll see how it's going, how we feel. We might bump that up.
Yeah.
Um, One of the things I want to do also is kind of cover an add-on every podcast. So, like for example, today I want to kind of go over details a little bit because not everyone knows about a lot of the add-ons, not everyone uses them. So, details, Bioshock. What is details? What does details do?
Basically, has a channel of all logs of all your DPS, healing, damage taken, death, interrupts. Like almost everything you can think of. So
Right.
it just keeps track of it, so you can see how well you're doing in single target Mythic Plus rating, like PvP, all like, every part of the game. You
Yep.
can just kind of test and see, oh, this spec does more damage than this spec, or this spec does more healing than this spec, and you can it's just there as a tool, so like you can just, it's just, it's just there, it's just super nice. It's probably my favorite add-on.
Yep. So I'm actually pulling it up for anybody that's watching us on YouTube whenever we post this. Gonna pull this up real quick for you all. We get. Why can't I see him on here? There we go. All right, so yes, we've got. Oh, you're blocked by the overlay. We'll fix that later.
It's all
So
good.
as you can see on here, so details here. Uh, You default starts out in the middle, but you can customize it, position it where you want. I like to run usually 3 windows. I only have 2 on beta. Usually I have one window over here that I have just showing them all my healing done, and then one of these windows I like to show the damage done, so the DPS for just the current pull, and then the third window that I usually have is the damage done for the entire overall dungeon run typically. Um, but no, it's a lot of fun. They've got a lot of nice little things on here. You've got your damage, your heal, your resources, your miscellaneous things, which is where you've got like interrupts, deaths, buff uptime, dispels, all sorts of stuff like that. CC breaks is a good one because if somebody keeps breaking a CC that you're supposed to not break, you can look it up and see who did it. Um,
Yeah.
but the most common ones that people use are your DPS, which shows you how much damage per second you're doing. And if you click on anybody in the list, it'll give you a full breakdown, which is what you see here in the middle of the screen. Full breakdown of all the damage that you've done from each ability, which ability was your hardest hitting ability. It's really great just kind of see, especially if you have another player that's using the same class as you in spec, you can kind of compare your run to theirs with this little compare button over here. You can actually see a lineup side by side of what the differences were between both of you. So let's say you go into somebody who's got same item level as you, but they did double the damage as you. You can see, okay, what am I doing wrong? Or if, say, you're helping somebody, you can look at it and go, okay, what are they doing differently? We can see, so you can work on it and help them out. It's really nice, a lot of information, really good for testing when you're trying to determine, hey, is this build good? You test things out. You can see, well, this ability did 3% of my damage, but this ability that I could have chosen instead did 8% of my damage. So let's go with that one instead. It's a lot of good testing on there. Um, but yeah, there's the other common one that you'll see is, obviously people have the healing done. A lot of people look at that one so the healers can see what they're doing. Um, it's very useful for raids because you can see which healers are contributing the most, kind of see how they're healing. The other one that I'm going to mention is damage taken, just from a tank perspective. It's really cool to look at damage taken and see, um, things that were possibly, you could have done better at. How much mitigation you had. That's another thing to see is your buff uptime is really, really cool. If you click up here on auras, it'll tell you like all your different buffs and amount of percentage of time you had cooldown uptime on. A lot of good information on there. So definitely highly, highly recommend downloading details. You got
Yeah.
anything else to add on details, Bio?
Nope.
All right. So, moving along.
Week and WoW.
Yes. So, Alex, go ahead and excuse me,
Ooh.
Bioshock. Use your government
That's
name.
okay.
Um,
That's okay.
go ahead and tell us. I know you've had a bit of exciting, uh, not even week, exciting last hour or two. um, so tell us about your week in WoW. Which, real quick, I have to throw this out there because I used to listen to a podcast called Ponecast. Absolutely wonderful podcast. They haven't done much since Shadowlands started, I think. Um, but I have to credit Ponecast with the Weekend WoW. They did it, and I know Belle, who I was in their guild for a little while. She always got annoyed when other podcasts would, after they started doing it, other podcasts started doing Weekend WoW, and would never credit them for it. So credit Ponecast for Weekend WoW. Uh, love that podcast. One of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast is because that podcast and Convert to Raid, I used to listen to both of those. Neither one's thrown out episodes in about 2 years now, and I miss podcasts, so I figured why not? Let's do one.
Yeah.
But go ahead, tell us about your week in WoW.
My week in WoW starts back about a year and a half ago. I I have been farming Thunder Fury for about just over a year, maybe a year and a couple months, on 5 tunes. Each of those 5 tunes had one binding, and it took a year and a little bit to finally get that second binding, which I got today, about half an hour before we recorded this. So my week in WoW is get Thunder Fury, baby.
Yep, I know for like the last few months, it's just been every time, every reset, I'm gonna get Thunder Fury today, and then just followed by disappointment. All right, so congratulations on your Thunder Fury
Woo!
acquisition. After a good,
Yeah.
I know how it feels. I've got a lot of different mounts and stuff. Took me years to get, so I know that feeling. Um, what else did you do in your week at WoW?
Um, did a lot of PvP testing on the beta.
Mm-hmm.
For classes, most recently this week has been Rogue, Boomkin, Warrior, and Demon Hunter. And Demon Hunter is broken. It's
No, they're
really good right
perfect.
now.
They're perfect. Demon Hunter is perfect. Blizzard,
They're
if you
they're
are
really
watching
strong
it,
right now.
Demon Hunter is not broken. They are perfect. Leave them just as they are, except maybe revert the bug fix. Just give us that bug back. It's okay. We'll deal with it. It is a chore to have 100% uptime on Metamorphosis, but we will carry that burden. That is what we were made for.
Yeah, so Demon Hunters are strong. I played a little Boomkin. It was really strong in PvE, and PvP is a little bit harder. I'm not really
Nice.
good at it. And Rogue Subtlety has been a blast to play. Very strong. I think now that spells are working correctly and talents working correctly, I think they're very strong. And Warrior. I only tested arms and in PvP. It was pretty strong, fun, strong, but definitely if I had to rate top three classes right now that I've played is Demon Hunter, um, Rogue, and then probably Death Knight.
Nice.
Yep, so that's my week.
Awesome. My week in WoW pretty much has consisted of leveling demon hunters. I spent the last couple of weeks filling out a giant spreadsheet to get all sorts of testing done with the leveling systems and tracking how much XP every quest get, what side quests there are, where they're at, basically trying to plot out my future speedrun courses, all culminating in a speedrun Friday night, which was a decent run. I'll be doing another one tomorrow night probably, just to test it out with the bug fixes.
Right.
I expect it'll probably be a little bit slower.
Well,
Um,
we factor in the game
Yes,
crashes.
so those are there are two factors that I'm really going to be testing out. One, I don't even know. I haven't tested beta enough since the build yesterday to know if the game crashes have been fixed. I don't know. I'm hoping they are. But yeah, we had like about 25 to 30 game crashes during that speed run, which costs a lot of time. Um, there's a couple sets of one set of quests I think I'm gonna skip. The oh, what's called the little boss one where you're just fighting 5 or 6 bosses over. It used to be Crucible of Carnage, is what they used to
Right.
be. I can't. It's Fields of Ferocity. That's what it's called. Probably gonna skip that quest line because the last one was bugged last time anyway, so I wasted a few minutes on it. I felt like it was just a little too slow to be worth doing. I think on launch night when you and I are leveling, we'll probably do it then because it's fast with the two of us.
Yeah.
It was just too slow. I felt like for a speed run. Too slow to kill him. The RP was too slow, so I think I'm gonna skip that and see how it goes. But, I
Yeah.
finished it in 5 hours and 45 minutes. So that combined with the fix to the Metamorphosis demonic bug. Basically, what was happening was demonic is supposed to give you 6 seconds of metamorphosis, which for those who don't play demon hunters, metamorphosis is our strongest offensive cooldown. It's ridiculously strong.
It's
Empowers
really
your
good.
chaos strike and your blade dance. It's amazing. I love it. Uh, when you I-beam, you're supposed to get 6 seconds of it if you've picked the demonic talent. It was giving a full 30 seconds, which is actually more than the actual cooldown. The cooldown's only 25 seconds now. Um, so basically, what it was leading to is if you're in combat for 3 minutes, you're gonna have metamorphosis up for the entire 3 minutes. Like it was, you just had 100% uptime on it. I think, I think it won't have too big of an impact on the speed run because most pulls that I do, I beam is typically what I use to kill the majority of the mobs anyway. Like that, the first I beam would kill 90% of it. So I don't think it's gonna slow me down too much not having metamorphosis the entire time. But we'll see. It could potentially be a slowdown. But that'll be tomorrow night. So if you look at the top of the screens here, we've got our my Twitch, my YouTube channel, and my Twitter. And on the top right of the screen, camera's to my left. Weird there. On the top left of the screen, we've got Bioshock's Twitch and his YouTube channel.
My
So
YouTube is dead at the moment, but I'm planning on making PvP videos for beta, and I'll probably start that this next week.
nice, nice. Yep. Both of us stream decently frequently. Um, so
Yeah.
catch us on our Twitch channels if you want to anytime. Uh,
Feel free to leave suggestions or questions you want answered, and we'll do our best to get around to it.
yep, absolutely. Um, this podcast, I gotta figure out how to get it all on there, but I'm gonna try to have it on. Hopefully, we'll have it on iTunes, Spotify, the typical things. This video will definitely be up on YouTube tomorrow. Uh, I'll have it all posted tomorrow, so Friday. That's typically what we're going to be looking for our podcast. Is we'll record Thursday night, have everything uploaded Friday, so y'all can enjoy listening to it, watching it, whatever on Friday. Um, but yep. You got anything to add, Bio?
Nope, I'm good.
All right. So anyway, this is the very first episode of Control Alt Deplete. Hopefully, the first of many. Feel free to on YouTube, like, subscribe, whatever. Same on our Twitch channels, my Twitter. You always jump on my Twitter, check out my Twitter page, follow me, say hi, whatever. Um, on whatever platforms we get the podcast up on. Feel free to like those, subscribe those, give feedback, whatever. Love to read comments, see what you guys have to say, ideas, things you want to see, whatever. Let us know, and we will do what we can. Also, let us know what you think of the overlay. I made this last night. Um, I mean, I didn't like make all the graphic design on it. I just kind of went onto stream elements, I think it was, and found this one, and then kind of moved stuff around and spaced it out a little bit. But I like it a lot. As a demon hunter, I love purple, you know. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and appreciate y'all. And hopefully we get some traction and give you guys some good content. So that is it. That is the end of the first episode of Control Alt Deplete.
Thank you.
See you next time.